generally.
I'm not happy about this.
Yeah, I'm not happy.
I'm never
about
happy when anybody with my money. I'm gangster like that.
Yeah, well,
and they're with my money.
They also don't allow you to write anything off. They don't allow you to write anything off, and they tax you 35%.
And also, for the longest time, it was a very risky business because you couldn't put the money in the bank, right? The banks wouldn't take your dirty pot money that you hippies got by what? Smoking pot? That money can't taint your the holy sepulcher that is a bank.
The median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits, 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a t-shirt that says Federal Boob Inspector.
Picture this. 2 Hollywood legends sit down for what should be a chill conversation about their cannabis business. And within minutes, they're absolutely torching California into the ground. Bill Maher and Woody Harrelson didn't sugarcoat a single thing. They didn't dance around the issues. They didn't pretend everything was sunshine and palm trees. They unloaded on Gavin Newsom, the state government, and the bureaucratic nightmare that has turned the Golden State into a punchline. And honestly, every single word landed like a hammer. If you've ever wondered why people, companies, and entire industries are fleeing California like it's on fire, you're about to find out in the most brutally honest way possible. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss content like this. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for what these two say next.
We're trying. It's not easy to make a business work in California.
California just messes with every business, man.
I mean, I don't want to start this off. Well, why not? Why just on California? But California deserves to be for a lot of this kind of stuff, and people know, and this is why people flee the state. Like there is, what is that?
Watermelon juice.
I'll have a little.
So, here's the setup. Ma owns a cannabis store with Woody Harrelson, which already sounds like the opening line of a sitcom that practically writes itself. But when the two of them sat down together, the conversation didn't stay light for long. Ma kicked things off by basically admitting he's not happy about what? About California, about taxes, about the government dipping its grubby little fingers into every dollar he and Woody worked to earn. And the moment he said the words, "I'm gangster like that," when talking about people messing with his money, you knew this wasn't going to be your average celebrity puff piece. This was going to be a roast. And boy, did California deserve it. Let's talk numbers for a second, because the numbers are insane. Ma revealed that their cannabis business gets taxed at a jaw-dropping 35%. 35. Let that sink in. For context, beer is taxed at around 3%. Firearms sit around 10%. So weed, the thing California fought tooth and nail to legalize, is being taxed at more than triple what you'd pay for a six-pack. Make it make sense. And on top of that crushing tax burden, the state doesn't even let them write anything off. So you're being squeezed from both sides. You can't reduce your tax bill through legitimate business deductions, and you're already paying a rate that would make a Wall Street CEO faint. It's almost like the government legalized marijuana just to find a more creative way to rob the people selling it.
But yeah, California sucks as far as, well, all businesses, but certainly this one. They still treat it like it's poison.
They treat
Either
it like
it's legal, it's not. You know.
Yeah, they treat it like you're lucky that we allow you to do this, and so we're going to tax you 35%, which is way more. It's more than double anything. I don't even know what's the second, but like guns, 10%, right? Like just to give you.
What's beer?
Beer's like what, 3% or something? It's ridiculous that they can just tax the out of you and make it so hard.
But wait, it gets even more ridiculous. For the longest time, these business owners couldn't even put their money in a bank. Let me say that again because it really doesn't hit until the second read. Cannabis is legal in California. The state collects taxes on it. The government literally profits off every transaction. But the banks operating under federal regulations that haven't caught up with state law refuse to touch that money. So what happens? Business owners are stuck running massive cash-only operations, walking around with stacks of bills they can't safely store, becoming walking targets for crime, and watching their state simultaneously celebrate legalization and abandon the very people making it possible. The hypocrisy is so thick you could choke on it. California opened the door, invited everyone inside, and then quietly removed all the chairs.
And also for the longest time, it was a very risky business because you couldn't put the money in the bank, right? The banks wouldn't take your dirty pot money that you hippies got by what? Smoking pot? That money can't taint your the holy sepulcher that is a bank.
And here's where it gets interesting, because this isn't just a cannabis problem. This is a California problem. The entire state has become a graveyard for ambition. Tesla packed up and moved to Texas. SpaceX did the same. Oracle bailed on Austin. Hewlett-Packard, one of the founding fathers of Silicon Valley itself, packed out. Charles Schwab loaded the moving truck and headed for Westlake, Texas. These aren't small fish. These are titans. These are the kind of companies that built California's reputation as a global powerhouse. And they all decided enough was enough. Why? Because when your top state income tax rate is over 13% and Texas and Florida charge you exactly zero, the math doesn't take a genius to work out. The exodus isn't a rumor. It's not propaganda from the right. It's a documented accelerating reality that California's leadership keeps pretending isn't happening while the moving vans drive past their windows. Now, here's where things take an even darker, weirder turn. The bureaucracy. Oh man. The bureaucracy. Did you know the median time to get approval to build a single house in California is 627 days? That is 217 days longer than it took to build the entire Empire State Building. Read that again. They built one of the most iconic skyscrapers in human history, faster than it currently takes a Californian to get permission to start building a regular suburban home. And to get that permission, you'll need 87 different permits. 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from Public Utilities and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and one apparently from a guy whose only qualification is wearing a t-shirt that says Federal Boob Inspector.
Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits, 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and one from a guy in a t-shirt that says Federal Boob.
At this point, the system isn't even pretending to be efficient. It's actively trolling the people trying to navigate it. This is the kind of madness Maher was pointing at. And he made an important distinction that I really want you to hear. He's not saying we should burn every regulation to the ground. He's not advocating for some lawless free-for-all where chemical plants pop up next to elementary schools. What he's saying is that the left, in its noble obsession with engineering a perfect world where nothing bad can ever happen, has gone so far past common sense that the regulations themselves have become the problem. The cure has become worse than the disease. And nowhere is this more obvious than in the environmental review process. Environmental impact statements used to be a few pages long. Now they routinely stretch into the thousands. The California Environmental Quality Act regularly generates documents exceeding 10,000 pages for a single project. The reviews take an average of 4.5 years to complete. Think about that. 4.5 years of bureaucrats shuffling paper, killing entire forests worth of trees just to determine whether something is good for the environment. The irony is so thick you could spread it on toast.
One of the biggest lessons he learned as president was there is no such thing as shovel-ready projects. Environmental impact statements used to be a few pages long. Now they're thousands of pages of legalistic nonsense and take an average of 4.5 years to complete, with thousands of bureaucrats filling out millions of paper forms that kill hundreds of forests to answer the question, is this good for the environment?
Want a real-life example that perfectly captures California's dysfunction? Let me tell you about the toilet. San Francisco, a city with very real and very public sanitation issues, decided to build a single public toilet in a neighborhood that desperately needed one. Just one toilet, not a bathroom complex, not a luxury spa, just one toilet. The estimated cost is $1.7 million for one toilet. This wasn't some magical AI-powered self-cleaning porcelain throne that catches your phone if you drop it. It was a regular toilet that was somehow going to cost more than most mansions in the Midwest. The city, even by its own standards, eventually realized this was too embarrassing and shelved the project. Then, like divine intervention, a private company swooped in and said, "Hey, we'll build the toilet for free." Free. No charge. A gift to the city. Surely the story ends there, right? Wrong. By the time that free toilet got dragged through project management fees, construction management fees, architecture and engineering fees, permits, civic design reviews, surveys, contract preparation, and cost estimation, the so-called free toilet was still going to cost almost $1 million. The bureaucracy didn't just slow things down. It ate the entire gift. It consumed the kindness. It turned generosity itself into another revenue stream for the regulatory class. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about California's priorities, I genuinely don't know what will.
In San Francisco, the city's so nice you'll step in poop twice. There's an area where homeless people were urinating and defecating, and it was starting to annoy the people breaking into cars. So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet. And this wasn't some magic toilet that catches your phone when you drop it. So then a private company took pity on San Francisco and offered to build them their toilet for free. But after, quote, project management, construction management, architecture and engineering fees, permits, civic design review, surveys, contract preparation, and cost estimation, the free toilet was still going to cost almost $1 million.
And it's not just toilets. The high-speed rail project that voters approved back in 2008 to connect Los Angeles and San Francisco is still nowhere near finished. The cost has ballooned from an estimated $33 billion to over $100 billion. The Bay Bridge Eastern Span replacement took more than 2 decades. The Los Angeles Metro has been creeping along for years despite billions in funding. Basic highway widening projects can drag on for 10 years or more. California doesn't have a vision problem. The vision is great. The talent is there. The weather, the resources, the ambition and the creativity, all of it exists in abundance. What California has is an execution problem so severe it borders on parody. The state is essentially Gulliver. The giant tied down by 1,000 tiny ropes thrown by an army of tiny bureaucrats who have figured out that their entire livelihood depends on nothing ever actually getting done.
America's become Gulliver, the giant that got tied down with 1,000 tiny ropes by Lilliputians, the horde of little people who do big damage. Build back better, sounds good. So does shovel-ready jobs. Yeah, exactly.
Here's the part that should really make your blood boil, though. The system isn't just inefficient. It's actively self-defeating. Every regulation supposedly designed to protect the environment is generating mountains of paperwork that require enormous amounts of paper, which requires cutting down trees, which means the regulations protecting the environment are literally consuming the environment. And some estimates suggest that if the renewable energy queue alone could get unclogged, the United States could be 80% zero carbon within 7 years. 7 years. Think about how often you've heard politicians scream about climate change being an existential threat, then turn around and pile more red tape on the exact projects that would address it. The biggest enemy of clean energy in this country isn't oil companies. It's permitting. It's the permit office answering the phone with what amounts to "Hello, how may I hinder you today?"
Semaphore estimates that if the red tape could be cut on everything that's currently stuck in the renewable queue, the United States would be 80% zero carbon in 7 years. The enemy to clean air isn't just big oil, it's big permitting. It's not that America isn't able to get anything done, it's that we're not allowed to. Of course there should be consideration of the environment on everything we build, but as so often happens on the left, they seem to have no ability to recognize when they've taken a concept way too far and are in fact hurting their own cause.
What Maher and Harrelson exposed in this conversation isn't just frustration from 2 guys who can't run their business properly. It's a window into a system that has lost touch with its own purpose. Government exists in theory to make life easier for the people it serves. To provide order, infrastructure, fairness, and security. Somewhere along the way, California's government decided its real job was to manage every outcome, regulate every behavior, tax every transaction, and protect everyone from the basic reality that life involves risk. Bad things happen. They always have. They always will. No amount of paperwork or permits or pages of legalistic gibberish is going to change that fundamental truth. But when leaders forget it, you get exactly what California has become. A breathtakingly beautiful state where it costs $1 million to install a free toilet, where it takes longer to approve a tract home than it took to build the Empire State Building, and where two of Hollywood's biggest names can't safely deposit money they earned selling a legal product.
It's the vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, "Permit office, how may I hinder you?"
So, what's the takeaway here? California has every single ingredient needed to be the greatest state in the country. The climate is unreal. The talent pool is unmatched. The natural beauty is genuinely staggering. The cultural influence the state exports to the rest of the world is enormous. But all of that potential is being slowly strangled by a system that prioritizes process over progress, paperwork over people, and control over common sense. Until someone has the courage to look at this mess honestly and rip it apart at the roots, California is going to keep watching its companies, its residents, and its future walk out the door, one moving truck at a time. Maher and Harrelson aren't political extremists. They aren't right-wing firebrands. They're two guys trying to run a business, and even they can see the walls closing in. What do you think? Is California salvageable, or has the bureaucracy gone too far to fix? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I genuinely want to know. If this video hit hard, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more no-nonsense breakdowns, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Until next time, stay sharp out there.